681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Presented by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in! Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Means our show is brought to you by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. About half the work week in the rear view mirror. That means we're working towards the weekend. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines here hanging out. I'm glad you are doing so as well. JD Piquel of On3 Sports chatting with us in 15 minutes. It's a What If Wednesday. Big basketball announcement coming this evening. I'll talk to you about that the end of this hour. Brian Kelly met with the media on the SEC Coaches Teleconference. I want to talk a little bit about that in the second hour, as well as what Jaden Daniels' role is in the game on Saturday. And then, of course, at 2:30, we got our SEC Power Rankings. And I'll tell you this, we have really stood pat on the SEC Power Rankings the last 3 weeks. There hasn't been a lot of shaking. In fact, last week, only 2 schools even moved, and they were down at like 12 and 10. There were some shakeups after last week's games. So we'll get to the power rankings at 2:30. Y'all know what we do here on this station. We very largely, quote-unquote, play the hits. We keep things very much centered on LSU, the Saints, the Pelicans, the Southeastern Conference. That's what you want to hear about more often than not, and that's what we talk about. And you know, as a listener to me, that I very often steer the conversation towards. And we're going to lead the show off today speaking about something, the college football playoff rankings last night, that don't really affect LSU, because LSU has lost 3 football games. They're not winning the West. They're not winning the SEC. They're not making the playoff. They're not winning the national championship. They're probably going to the ReliaQuest Bowl or the Citrus Bowl. So why would we lead the show talking about the college football playoff? Well, I'll tell you why. Because there's a piece of this sport, college football, that we all love that has irked me really my entire viewing life. And it's that college football, for the most part, doesn't really care who you play. It only cares what your record is. And last night, as I watched the college football rankings, that crystallized again. It's like, yeah, that's all that really matters. And it does affect LSU, although we're not exactly sure how moving forward, because LSU's day in the 4-team playoff came in 2019 and ended in January of 2020, and that's the only time LSU was ever affected by a 4-team playoff, and there's not one next year. So these conclusions that I'm drawing from said 4-team rankings don't affect LSU right now, but I'm curious how it will affect LSU as we move forward into a 12-team playoff. So let's look at the rankings from last night, and let me just point out what I think is a flaw. And I don't have a great solution to fixing it, but let me just lay it out, and we're just talking about the SEC here. When the University of Texas scheduled the University of Texas at Arlington. I don't even know if they have a football team. Let's make it Rice. And they beat them by 70 in week 2. Where would they be ranked this week? 2? 1? 3? Well, they're not, because they scheduled Texas and they lost. So they're 8th. How about this if we start talking about the 12-teamer? LSU is 15th in these rankings. What if they didn't play Florida State? They played Florida Atlantic. Beat them by 60. LSU went on the road, played a top 4 team right now on the road, and all that matters, well, you lost. Get to the back of the line. But obviously, that's got to help Florida State, right? They went into the non-conference. They played a team with a Heisman Trophy candidate in a neutral site game. I know they had more fans. Bear with me. Man, that's a huge out-of-conference win. Certainly you rewarded them more than Georgia, who doesn't have one. Certainly you rewarded them more than Michigan, who doesn't have one. No, those 2 teams ahead of Florida State. All you can do is hurt yourself outside the league. Maybe Texas gets a benefit here from playing Alabama. They're ahead of them in the polls. You say, well, they played them head-to-head. They went there and won. They're ahead of them. Yeah, but they've got a loss. And Michigan doesn't have a loss. I don't care if they've played. Michigan's ahead of you. It just matters if you lose or not, especially in the SEC. Georgia scheduled nobody. They're 1. Florida State scheduled somebody at a conference. They're 4. Bama scheduled somebody. Lost. They're back. If they had won, they'd be up at the top. I understand at the base of this is we'll win your games. I'm just telling you, don't schedule the hard ones. That's what this is telling me. And I think that sucks, but I think it's true. And I think it's going to be true in the 12-teamer. If I was Verge Osbury, which I'm not, and I don't know what the contractual, I'm canceling USC. I'm canceling UCLA. We're playing Nichols and Southeastern, and we're going to be undefeated. Where's the benefit? And that's a bad thing for the sport. Until the day comes where the committee takes a 1 or 2 loss team and jumps them over a team that has 1 or 2 fewer losses because that schedule's a lot more difficult and we want to reward that and we think you're one of the 4 best teams, even though the record doesn't quite indicate that, then I'm going to feel this way. Schedule me ULM. Bring on South Alabama. Love to see Rice. And none of the people that are season ticket holders want those games. None of the TV networks want those games. But the fact of the matter is, it seems to me to be the most prudent way to schedule football. If Michigan beats Ohio State and wins out, they're not going to take Ohio State and go, oh, well, nice scheduling against Notre Dame. We like the effort there, but you lost. You're out. We know Georgia didn't schedule anybody either in the non-conference. But the SEC, it's just, I don't have a great way to fix it. I'm not here to give you a perfect solution. I'm just here to say this is kind of a bummer. And to me, I don't see the benefit of taking on a huge schedule. Now, outside of that conversation, I do have a fun hypothetical that I'd like to toss forward. This never happens. It has not happened in our 4-team playoff tenure era, whatever you want to call it, where you just have mass chaos because it inevitably works itself out. But I'm going to paint you a picture of something that is not that wildly far-fetched that would be endlessly entertaining in terms of the selection committee's top 4. What if Bama wins out and beats Georgia? Do we think that's absolutely out of the question? I don't. That's one piece. What if Ohio State beats Michigan? That's not completely out of the realm of possibility. Florida State wins out. ACC champion undefeated. That's certainly not far-fetched. Oregon beats Washington. Now they've split. That's not crazy. Bo Nix is pretty good. They played a pretty high-scoring affair in Seattle. That could happen. And then Texas wins out. They're the 1-loss Big 12 champion. At that point, if Bama beats Georgia, Ohio State beats Michigan, Florida State wins out, Oregon beats Washington, and Texas wins out, here's what you have in the college football playoff rankings. You've got a 1-loss SEC champ, Bama. You've got a 1-loss SEC non-champion, Georgia. Only lost to Alabama. You've got a 1-loss non-conference champion in Michigan. You got a 1-loss non-conference champion in Washington. You got a 1-loss conference champion in Oregon and a 1-loss conference champion in Texas with an unbeaten Florida State. That is 7 teams vying for 4 spots. That is chaos. Because Florida State doesn't have a great win. Louisville, LSU. Oregon would be a conference champion, but they and Washington split. Their record's the same. You're just going to prioritize one game and not the other one, I guess. It's that would be funny to watch. And I have my thoughts on what it would be, and if it was LSU was involved in that, it would turn my stomach into knots. I was in knots in the Superdome getting ready for Saints and 49ers, looking at the TV when LSU was revealed as the 1 seed for good in 2019. That turned me in knots. If you were in this situation, good luck. I think Georgia gets left out. I think Washington gets left out. I think Michigan gets left out. But you got to put Texas in there. It is a fascinating thing. But again, the nuts and bolts of this conversation for me personally are that it just bums me out that if you put a compelling September matchup on TV and you come up short, you're just really penalized for that when the team that schedules nobody is not penalized for it. There's an eyeball test that factors in there, and then they just default to the number right of the height of the dash. That's my thoughts on the college football playoff. We'll get JD Pickels here coming up shortly. What If Wednesday coming up as well. You can get those at me on Twitter. We got some hypotheticals in College Station that we're going to get to on What If. We got some hypotheticals that involve Iowa and LSU that we're going to get to. But I want to remind you about Schneider's Golf Mechanics. They bring you our Wednesday shows. Schneider's Golf Mechanics is on Bluebonnet just north of I-10. It is golf for everyone. Whether you're a high-skill level player that plays all the time, that wants to use the TrackMan that they've got and have video lessons with Matt Schneider, see your launch angle and ball speed and club head speed and all that kind of stuff that's important to you, you can go to Schneider's Golf Mechanics and hit on their simulator and get all that information. If you're a beginner, you're just trying to pick up the game, let Matt Schneider help you with that in a controlled environment where you don't have to go out to the golf course and spend 5 hours trying to figure out how to play golf. Matt Schneider can help you in a controlled environment. Or if you just want to go have some fun, the simulators are awesome. You can play games against your friends. You can play famous courses like Cypress Point or Pebble Beach. It's an awesome, awesome place for golfers of all skill levels. And if you need clubs repaired, maybe you got an old set and one broke, or you need to re-grip some clubs, Schneider's Golf Mechanics can help you with that. You can check them out. Bluebonnet, just north of I-10. They are our sponsors here on Wednesday, and we appreciate Matt Schneider and Schneider's Golf Mechanics very, very much. We'll take a time out. Come back with J.D. Pickell next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Still right around lunchtime. Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales should be your stop. Speaking of north of I-10, just got to go to the Highway 30 exit in Gonzales, north right there for about a mile. Jersey Mike's right there on the right. The bacon ranch chicken cheesesteak, fantastic stuff. You order it, they put your chicken right there on the griddle, heat it up, melt the cheese over the top, and that bread that's baked fresh every day. We'll get that out eventually. Oh, just a fantastic sandwich, and they're great for catering as well. Looking to feed a high school football team, feed the office, feed a tailgate party or a watch party, just a big family, maybe a Hester-sized family. Jersey Mike's can help you out with that. Get that cookie or brownie platter when you order their catering. Jersey Mike's, you can download the app, get them on DoorDash as well. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me. Oh,
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, Our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756.
Haniger joins us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Julie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Paul Nolan will give us an opinion on Thursday night's game, plus Matt Humans and Dwayne Colucci. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along on this Wednesday, What If Wednesday, coming at you in 15 minutes. But right now, time to head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Our guy J.D. Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports YouTube channel, joins us. J.D., how we doing?
Brother, doing phenomenal. How are you doing?
Doing well. More impressive on Saturday, the Georgia Bulldogs or Jaden Daniels?
That is the ultimate rock and a hard place question to ask to get this thing rolling, man. I'm going to lean Georgia just because it was a top 10 team, and there was this question about, like, how are they going to match up with potent offense. But, I mean, Jaden Daniels, I think he cements himself as the Heisman Trophy winner. Like, I understand there's a lot of runway here still left, but, like, if Jaden Daniels isn't your front runner for the Heisman Trophy, I don't know that we're really watching college football the same way.
He's got a little bit of a problem here is that he's got Georgia State on Saturday, and then he's head up against Ohio State and Michigan in 2 weeks playing a coachless A&M team. So his work is kind of done, and he's at the mercy of, I guess, Penix, Nix, and maybe Carson Beck or Jordan Travis, maybe Marvin Harrison. Does that sound right?
Sure. No, I think that's absolutely right. And I think one thing, too, is a lot of those teams you just named, outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. at least, it'll probably be a by committee affair. Like Jordan Travis the last couple of weeks hasn't been sensational when you look at his numbers. And Michael Penix Jr., and I love Washington and what they've done. I think they're phenomenal. I'm a little bit surprised that Michael Penix Jr. is getting the Heisman buzz that he has, because he's had 2 separate games where he's thrown 0 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like not just one, like two separate occasions where he got a donut in the box score for Michael Penix throwing the ball around the yard, man. So I think when it comes to just someone who's actually taking over the game, I think I look at Jaden Daniels, and then my close second right now at least is Marvin Harrison Jr. Guys that really make the difference. So yeah, I think you're right though in terms of his stages. Like we're kind of running out of runway, and you won't get that data point for conference championship weekend. But I still think that the impression he's made to this point has settled with a lot of the college football public, and I hope it's the same way for those voters.
I'm going to talk in the second hour of my show today about how long to leave Jaden Daniels in on Saturday. They're playing Georgia State. Georgia State is not very good. What would your thought process be if you were Brian Kelly in how long you leave Jaden Daniels out there? Do you give any thought to the Heisman Trophy? Do you give no thought to it? Do you give a lot of thought to his NFL career? Like, what is the goal when you take the field?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a really great question. If I'm Brian Kelly, I think honestly, I would let Jaden Daniels cook a little bit. Like at this point, you're not playing for the SEC championship. the New Year's Six Bowl may or may not happen, I guess, depending on the way that the cards fall here at the end of the season. I don't pretend to know exactly how that looks. But, think about it this way, too. If he wins the Heisman Trophy, obviously it'd be amazing for Jaden Daniels. It would help his stock. But if I'm Brian Kelly and I'm Mike Denbrock, like, the recruiting tool that would be for the rest of, the country to see us work with a guy like Jaden Daniels and what he was at Arizona State and what he was last year in his progression, like, to be able to stamp a Heisman Trophy on top of that would feel like a really, really big statement, because you think about LSU, and outside of Joe Burrow, you think of great defenses, you think of great line of scrimmage play, and I know Joe Burrow was kind of the first one to debunk that, but you pair a Joe Burrow with the Jaden Daniels, and in the modern college football era, I'm thinking as a recruit, okay, well, if I go to LSU, I got a pretty good chance to do some good things if I'm playing quarterback. Like, that would be a tremendous signal fire, I think, to the rest of the recruiting world. So that's a long answer to your question, but I think the impact of letting him stay in and put up numbers against Georgia State, at least for 3 quarters, I think could do a lot for you in the long run.
Let's go back to Georgia. How impressive is it for the future of that program that their offense is good this year as it has been, even though you're changing quarterbacks and coordinators?
It's freaky. It's freaky. And, on top of all that, losing Brock Bowers for a little bit there. Like, I think we're at this point where Georgia has kind of shifted into what Bama was several seasons ago, where the standard is very clear across the board for staff all the way down to, the players that are actually executing. And I think Mike Bobo deserves a ton of credit to be able to kind of seamlessly take over from a guy like Todd Monken, who's now an NFL coordinator, and to be able to take those pieces that are new from, Stetson Bennett to Carson Beck and losing Brock Bowers for a period of time there. Like, none of this is accidental. None of this is coincidental. And there's a lot there with talent acquisition, but I said it today on our show, like, I think the internal standard within that locker room and that leadership council, all the things that they've done to kind of keep Georgia the same Georgia, even with the personnel changing, deserves a ton of credit and is, enormously impressive. Because I think they're almost more potent this year than they were last year in some respects.
Michigan didn't register a pass attempt in the second half on Saturday. They beat Penn State in Happy Valley. Your guess as to what the high-level administrators at Penn State think about their program today?
I think they would. So I think there's the victim of the moment feel of, man, yet again, we are third place on the podium, and the step up to second and first place is a little bit further than we thought. I think you also, at the same time, have to still keep the context solid of, all right, well, we still do have a lot of talent on this roster. We still do have I think still a really talented quarterback in Drew Aller. My biggest question mark for Penn State is, what are we doing on the recruiting trail to make sure we don't get caught in this same situation where we don't have game breakers on the outside? Because Keandre Lambert-Smith, I think he's great. Marvin Harrison Jr. is why Ohio State won that game against Penn State. And again with Michigan, it wasn't like they had game breakers on the outside, but they had the line of scrimmage play that was so elite to where it didn't matter. So I think the thing with me now is Penn State, like, what is elite about you that's going to be your differentiating factor when you find yourself in those games? Is it Drew Aller? I mean, he wasn't in that first spot. I mean, is it Nick Singleton? Is it Katron Allen? Maybe they are in the future, but I think there has to be, from an overarching standpoint, some kind of elite asset of this team on the opposite side of the ball that's going to be able to make up for, where they maybe have a stalemate on different parts of their roster. So I don't think it's all, dark clouds and gray skies, but I do think there's got to be a sense of urgency now, because you have Drew Aller this year and probably next year, and we'll see after that. So I think the window is not closed, but I think this is the 1 out of 2 years you get with this young talent group.
J.D. McKell of On3 Sports is our guest. He's the host of The Hard Count. Find him every single day on the On3 YouTube channel. Let's go forward to this coming week, Washington and Oregon State. Do you give the Beavers at home in Corvallis a chance to beat Washington?
Hunt, I think they're favored.
They are minus 2.5. Yep, minus 2.5.
Oh, so it's grown. It's grown. I saw that -1. Man, I'll tell you this. We've seen Washington play in games like this. We saw them win a rock fight against Arizona State and kind of play a game of possession against Arizona and things like that. They played really well against Utah. It feels like to me, with it being in Corvallis and with the way that this Oregon State team is built up front and the way they're playing defensively, I think they're going to take the air out of the football. Hunt, I think it's going to be stormy conditions on the field in Corvallis. I think they're going to beat Washington. They'll be close. Could be by a field goal, maybe a final second kind of play like we saw in Oregon and Washington. But I think DJU and Silas Bolden make enough plays on those third and passing situations. And I think Oregon State ends up winning this football game. And I think they storm the field. I think it's going to be a iconic kind of moment and throw this playoff scenarios into just a million bajillion pieces.
People still talk about the 2007 game in Tiger Stadium when they announced that USC had lost and that LSU was going to be the number one team in the country against Florida. People talk about the reaction to that. I'm pretty certain, looking at that game time, 6:30 here in Baton Rouge, that if Oregon State gets a pick or something and something goes wrong for Michael Penix, that's going to be shown on the Jumbotron while LSU's playing Georgia State. They got to find something to get fired up about, and that, I think, would very likely do it. So I did not see that game time until just now. I knew they were playing. I didn't know it was at 6:30, so that'll be interesting here in Baton Rouge. All right, let's talk about a couple of job openings in the Southeastern Conference. Texas A&M decided after winning by 41 that they had seen enough of Jimbo. So your thoughts on that opening and what's next in College Station?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was it's probably best for everybody. And I think you got to give A&M a lot of credit for making the right decision, even though it was the hard decision. Because where was this thing really going, right? Like, it was probably going to be another 8-4 season, 7-5 season, depending on how things shake out at the end of your year with LSU. You could have kicked the can down the road and said the buyout's a lot. Well, we're still recruiting well, give it more time. But, like, it was kind of like that couple in high school where, like, you knew they weren't getting married. They would break up and get together every other weekend, and you weren't sure where it was going to actually end up. So for them to finally call it off, hard decision, but probably the right decision. There's a lot of names being thrown out there right now. I appreciated what Dan Lanning said and just how genuine he was. You hear Lane Kiffin get thrown out there, and you hear flash names like Deion Sanders. To me, that would feel like getting back on the hype train ride that you just took with Jimbo Fisher of this big name, and you have these enormous expectations, and like just by nature of resources, there will always be huge expectations in College Station. I think you got to go a different route and take somebody who has done more with less. I mean, I love the name Chris Kleiman getting thrown around. Mike Elko would be my pick, and the differentiating factor for me with him is just what I said: done more with less at Duke. With him having been in College Station as a defensive coordinator, Hunt, you know this as well as anybody. Like it's a different place to be in Bryan College Station, to be a part of Texas A&M. Like you got to really understand it and be able to know what you're signing up for. And so for him to be ahead of the game there and to have his track record he does, I think he would be a tremendous fit. And I think he would be a little bit more substance than flash. So I would love Mike Elko to be the next guy at A&M. And I think regardless of who you go with, it's got to be someone kind of in that profile.
I think a lot of Aggies would be really excited if Mike Elko came back. Same way LSU fans kind of felt about Dave Aranda a few years ago. Now it's gone kind of south at Baylor, but there was a time there where Aranda was a really, really hot name. Last one, with the SEC changing and with Texas and Oklahoma coming in on this side geographically, how difficult is that Mississippi State job?
Hey, before we get to that, bring Aranda back. I mean, we'll see what happens with Baylor here in the future, but Aranda maybe on the hunt here in the not too distant future. We'll see. For Mississippi State, yeah, it's curious. I mean, talking about the Zach Arnett firing, I forget if we talked about it or not, Hunt, but it kind of felt like you had two options. One was to just double down on Zach Arnett and say he's going to be a head coach at some point. Might as well cut his teeth here and we'll figure it out and we'll grow with him. But hitting the reset button kind of felt like it was best for all parties in some sense, just with it being, a ridiculously tough situation. Like nobody's fault per se with the way that things went and the guys you lost through the portal. So I think probably best for both parties there too. I think the curious thing with Mississippi State is what you have to do to win there. Because you look at, the way the roster is right now and you look at everyone else in the SEC, like it's going to be a line of scrimmage league with Georgia and Bama and LSU and what Texas is bringing to the party. And so if I'm Mississippi State, I would probably look to find our different but better for us kind of fit. And to me, that's Jamie Chadwell. I know there was a lot going on Twitter yesterday with locations not being turned off. I was told that was fake, which made me really sad because I wish that was real. But with what he does offensively, kind of being an option guy, a spread guy, like that to me could be a really good fit. Because I don't think you go into Mississippi State and say we're going to play the same game that Georgia does and that's how we'll win. I think it's got to be a little bit more zig when everyone else sags.
JD, thanks, man. We'll do it again next week.
You're the man. Appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. JD McKell, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports. Look, that job is just brutal. The expectations are fairly low, but you come into this league and you look at it's just the coaches around you geographically with Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban and Hugh Freeze right there now. And all of a sudden, here comes Texas and here comes Oklahoma and you've got A&M. It just feels like the wall's coming down a little bit. And it's just a hard place to go win. If you can get them to 7 or 8 wins, you're doing awesome. But that was like Dan Mullen was doing that. And it was like miracles were being worked in Starkville. So it pays well, and the buyout will probably be good. But it's just a very, very difficult place to go in and win. I'm curious to see what State does. But LSU doesn't play him next year, so that's new. First time in like 100 years. So come back, play some What If Wednesday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Protect yourself from power outages, whether that's at your home or maybe you're a business owner or a commercial property owner. Protect yourself from commercial power outage there as well. We know that Boudreaux's Electric services commercial properties all the time. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux been operating Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. All Generac generators that they install going to come with a free 10-year warranty. And better than that, they have the ability to monitor your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if something happens to it or it malfunctions for whatever reason, Boudreaux's Electric's going to know about it, whether there's a storm in the area or not. They'll call you and say, hey, something's up with the generator. We're going to come look at it. We'll come service it. It's just as easy as that. You don't even have to pay attention to it. Such a great piece of technology that Boudreaux's Electric can offer you with their Generac generators. They've got a second location coming to Gonzales very, very soon, but that phone line is already fired up. 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Can cause cavities in just months. You need to switch to Crest Pro Health. While most toothpaste stop working in minutes, Crest Pro Health's antibacterial fluoride protects for up to 12 hours to stop cavities before they start. So pick some up on the way home. Smile. Crest has you covered.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 5 brands on one lot. Shop BayouAutomotive.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This Sunday, as we bring you 3 different NFL games, we start with the noon kickoff, the Chargers at Packers. Immediately following that, it's Buccaneers at 49ers, and then the night game, the Vikings and Broncos. Catch all 3 of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Schneider's Golf Mechanics, Blue Bonnet just north of I-10. You need to have a club fix, have some practice time, or just want to play around in their state-of-the-art golf simulators. Schneider's Golf Mechanics, awesome spot. They're also doing customized head covers. They're making one for me that I'm going to have next week. I'm going to go over there and probably going to play Cypress Point on the simulator, quite frankly, because that course is awesome. And I want to go check that out, and then we'll see what the customized head cover looks like. But we got a lot of awesome stuff over there at Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Go check them out. We're closing up the hour. Coming up next with some basketball recruiting information. However, it is time for What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, first one here. We've got what if A&M hires Lane Kiffin?
That would scare me as an LSU guy and an A&M hater. Now, my perspective on A&M changes a little bit moving into next year because they're not in my division anymore. Now, they may be towards the end of the schedule. I don't know what the future holds, but they were a very, very much a direct competitor. But now they're no different than Georgia or Florida or Tennessee outside of recruiting, where LSU does battle them a lot. So I'll certainly still pull against them, but I don't know if it's as razor focused as it has been. But Kiffin has always complained about not getting guys, and they just got crushed by Georgia. And he said, look, they've got 26 5-stars they've signed since being here. We've signed 1. It's hard to sign 5-stars at Ole Miss. It's a state that produces some, but those oftentimes have eyes on Tuscaloosa and Baton Rouge. It's a place that doesn't have the greatest facilities year to year. Last year at this time, Lane Kiffin was in the process of losing 5 out of 6 and would go on to lose the Egg Bowl. And you're like, well, that wasn't that great a team. It's just the same thing as like Matt Campbell was like this meteoric rise, and all of a sudden no one hears from him again. Mark Stoops wins 10 games at Kentucky. Oh my gosh, who's next? And then they have a couple mediocre seasons in a row. Nobody's really talking about that. So it's funny how that goes year to year. But Lane Kiffin, I believe, is going to make a very, very quarterback-friendly offense no matter what he's got, whether it's FAU or Texas A&M or Ole Miss. And he's going to get better players at A&M than he would at Ole Miss, and I'm confident in that. So that would scare me. I hope they do not hire Lane Kiffin.
Okay, but do you think LSU went after Lane Kiffin?
Do I think? No, I don't think LSU went after Lane Kiffin. That's purely an opinion. I have no information factually to back that up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I guess if we can't know, there's no way of knowing. But I feel like if he would have spurned LSU, I feel like he would probably maybe spurn A&M. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would have crawled to Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
I think he would have crawled to Baton Rouge. And I think that he would probably feel similarly about A&M. It's just a question of the guy that's been making fun of you and taking shots at you for 3 years. You want to bring him into the boat? We'll see.
All right, next one here is what if A&M hires Dion?
That would not scare me. I realize there's a boom factor there, and there's an attention factor there, and there's a perceived recruiting factor there. But can we talk about Dion's current class at Colorado? It's ranked 63rd in the country. They've got 10 commitments. It's not like he just got to Boulder, opened the gates, and all the 5-stars came. Yeah, nice job getting Travis Hunter. That's, you recruited him to Jackson State, got him to Boulder, and he's fantastic. And your sons are pretty good players, but their team stinks this year. They fired their offensive coordinator halfway through the season. in their recruiting class right now, which is supposed to be this automatic, anywhere Deion goes, 5 stars, automatically going to follow. Coach Prime going to recruit with anybody. He's got 10 commits. That's not great. Surrounding him in the recruiting rankings are UNLV and Cal and Colorado State and Appalachian State. So maybe he closes with a boom here the last 3 weeks and a couple 5 stars jump in the boat. Maybe some really high-profile transfers go to Colorado. But, like, what are we working off of here with Deion? We're working off an incredible personality, one of the most dynamic personalities in the history of football. We're dealing with a great run at an HBCU in a place where he had more resources and ability than his peers. Now he's got a little bit less, and the results are a lot less. I'm not saying he's got no chance to be a good coach, but if A&M wants to take that risk, I'll sit here and wait on it.
All right, next one here. What if LSU played Iowa this year, which is definitely a possibility in the bowl season?
Let me pull up the stats on that. I know that LSU is number 1 in every offensive thing that you can possibly pull up. Let's look at scoring offense. Where does Iowa rank in the country in scoring offense? They are 123rd in the country in scoring offense. There's only 10 teams worse than them. But in scoring defense, they're absolutely sensational, and they're 3rd in the country. They allow 12.3 points per game. If LSU plays Iowa in a bowl game, and you promise me that LSU will have its full complement of players, Neighbors, Thomas, Daniels, those guys play, that is as good a matchup, I think, for LSU as possible, because I don't think Iowa will go up and down the field. I think it'd be like Auburn, who had trouble scoring. I think it would be like Army, who had trouble scoring. And LSU would go up and down the field because they're going up and down the field on whoever it is. It's Bama in Tuscaloosa or it's Iowa in a bowl game. LSU should be favored in that game by 30 points if they play. That is, I can't imagine a better matchup for LSU. The worst matchup for LSU is a team that can go up and down the field because LSU will never get a stop.
Right.
It's Ole Miss or Missouri or Alabama. That would be the greatest matchup ever for LSU because Iowa would be stuck in neutral because they can't scribble play in dirt. And I'm sorry, I don't care how good Iowa's defensive coordinator is or how their scoring defense is. They watch Jaden Daniels and those 2 receivers run around, they're giving up 40. I think it'd be 40-10.
Maybe 40-0, honestly.
It could be.
I mean, I guess Iowa's going to have to get it. LSU, it's almost like they want a team to score a touchdown on defense. But all right, next one here. What if Iowa's offense and LSU's defense played together as a team in the Sun Belt?
So I've got Iowa's offense trying to go out there and put points on the board. I've got LSU's defense trying to get stops against the Sun Belt. I think LSU's got a chance to get some stops in the Sun Belt. Not everyone. I think they're holding teams around 25 points per game, maybe, in the Sun Belt. I mean, who am I dealing with?
You got James Madison. That's going to be tough.
James Madison's
Coastal Carolina,
decent.
App State are pretty good.
I got Jamie Chadwell dialing him up on LSU. They could score some points theoretically. I don't like Iowa's offense against anybody. Now, let me look at did Iowa score some points against their non-conference teams? I got their schedule pulled up here.
A little.
No,
not
24
much.
on Utah State. They did score on Western Michigan. They scored 41 in that game. But, man, this is brutal. I mean, Iowa's offense, 10 on Northwestern, 15 on Wisconsin. They won both of those games. 20 on Purdue. They didn't score on Penn State. It would be middle of the road Sun Belt team. Yep. I think you're talking about a 500 Sun Belt team if you give me Iowa's offense and LSU's defense. That's an impressive what if there.
All right, this next one is from Twitter. What if Skip makes Omaha in 2001?
So obviously they won it in 2000. 2001, Tulane knocks them out. I think he was done. I think he knew there was an opportunity upstairs to do something different at that point in his career. What else do you have to prove? You won 5 in 10 years. I think he was done. I don't think the program, quote unquote, slipping was why he was moving out. Even Smoke took that thing over before he drove it dead into the ground, got it to Omaha 2 different times. It was still there to be fostered and could have continued, but I think Skip was done.
All right, next one from Twitter. What if in a moment of weakness, Chandler had married Janice? That's a Friends reference
Shout out
here.
Matthew Perry on Friends. That would have never worked. All the friends hated her. Joey hated her. Like, they would have had to have moved away, and Chandler would have been miserable without Joey. That was never going to work. Janice was a nut. And then she went back to the Mattress King. So, it is what it is. It was never going to work. So that's it for a What If Wednesday. Appreciate y'all for firing away on Twitter and the Bayou Ford chat. Lots to do in the second hour. We're going to hear Brian Kelly's thoughts on what his plan is for Jaden Daniels on Saturday night. I've got my thoughts on that as well. We heard some sound from some LSU players yesterday that we want to get to. And, of course, our SEC Power Rankings coming up 45 minutes from right now. I made some changes to the Power Rankings this week, so we'll get to some of those coming up on this Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right. Right now, all customers get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Bengals and the Ravens, and you get a bonus bet back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues not all bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Georgia State head coach Sean Elliott will join us, preview his team's matchup with the Tigers, and we'll preview the weekend in the SEC with Russ Mitchell, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing up hour one. Wednesday show is brought to you by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Back 2 weeks ago, Matt McMahon and his staff signed the first two members of their high school class, Curtis Givens and Robert Miller. Both guys top 100 players, basically top 65 players depending on the site. Really good start there. Givens, a point guard from Montverde Academy, 6'3", 180. Robert Miller, a 6'10" post from Houston. And there's an announcement tonight that could impact LSU's class as well. Victorious Miller, a consensus four-star recruit, a consensus top 50 player in the country at shooting guard, 6'5", 170 pounds, will make his college commitment. His dad, Silk the Shocker, also known as Vice Sean Miller, his uncle, Master P, got some ties to New Orleans and Louisiana. And LSU has had Victorious on campus a couple of times and has been thought to be in the lead for Victorious Miller. He's a really, really talented scorer. I watched a lot of YouTube on him today. Long arms, rangy, smooth jump shot, real good scorer. I don't know if he's the best ball handler I've ever seen, but you can grow into that. He's just very talented at body control, using his body to get the ball up off the glass. He's long enough to shoot over the top of people on the perimeter. He's very athletic and can make plays above the rim. He's the real deal as a scoring guard, and he would be a phenomenal addition to a class with a true point guard, which you have in this class, because I think the world of Curtis Givens as a true point guard and distributor, and a true post, a 6'10", 230-pound post in Robert Miller. You add Victorious Miller's scoring ability to those two guys, and you've got an exceptional high school crop here. Now, we know that Matt McMahon's going to go to the portal, and he's going to add older players every year. He has said that. That has nothing to do with where the program was when he took it over or where it was after last year. He said, I want to be old. A lot of the teams that played very well in the tournament last year were very old. San Diego State was old. Florida Atlantic, very old. Tennessee, very old. I mean, you get the picture. The old teams have an advantage, and you can do that year after year with the transfer portal, but it certainly helps to bring in and develop elite-level high school players. You're not as apt to take projects in this era, especially in basketball where you only need like 7 or 8 guys. But if you've got elite-level high school players, which Givens and Miller are top 50 players, and so is Victorious Miller, then that's what you do. So this has looked really, really promising for Matt McMahon and LSU, and I think would be on the verge of really making you feel a little bit better. I know Friday sucked, and I know there is a sizable portion of you, the LSU fan base, of you, the listenership to this station and this show, that is disenchanted with basketball right now. You go 2-16 in the league, you lose to Nicholls State. That's the way it goes in this town. But if you can show that the cavalry's coming and that you're able to recruit at an elite level, then you build a little bit of confidence on an underlying level. Certainly Will Wade, after his first team, played really hard and made the NIT, and then all of a sudden, here comes Naz Reid, here comes Javonte Smart, here comes Emmett Williams, here comes Darius Days, and you're like, there's the high school recruiting we were looking for. Well, you couldn't get that last year from Matt McMahon. He brought in Jalen Reed and Tyrell Ward, who were highly thought of players, but it wasn't going to be to that degree. And if you were able to bring in a class with these 3 guys, that would feel similar to what Will Wade was doing, although not with the 5-star that Naz Reid was. And you don't have anybody that's like Tremont Waters, who became a star as a freshman. I get it. I'm not trying to totally compare the two, but you understand that Will Wade took over a bad situation and Matt McMahon took over a bad situation. It takes some time to dig yourself out of it. And getting Victorious Miller into this class would feel really, really good. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that that's going to happen. It looked that way based on all the recruiting prediction machines, all the crystal balls. Everybody thought, as of yesterday, Victorious Miller was looking like he was going to be an LSU Tiger. Now there is a heavy, heavy thought that he's headed up to Oregon to play for the Ducks. So we'll see as of 6 o'clock tonight what, in fact, does happen. But maybe 8 o'clock tonight. I think it's 6 o'clock Pacific because he's out on the West Coast. Seems like Oregon maybe has swooped in there. So it appears that Matt McMahon's probably done with the high schoolers in this class. You've got 2 really good ones. You're going to have to go a little heavier in the portal in terms of a wing. Victorious Miller would probably come in and be a heavy contributor as an off guard. You're going to have to go to the portal and help supplement this class. So we'll see. Nothing's set in stone as far as I know, but it doesn't appear that everything's awesome on that front right this second. LSU Next basketball game Thursday, 3 o'clock in Charleston against the Dayton Flyers. That's it for hour number 1. You can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, YouTube, wherever you find your audio, you can find us. J.D. Piquel was with us, gave my thoughts on the college football playoff rankings, and of course it was a What If Wednesday. Back to LSU football coming up after Sports Center. We'll come back. Brian Kelly had his thoughts on what Jaden Daniels should be doing on Saturday. I've got my thoughts on that as well. So come back with us for hour number 2. It's a Wednesday edition brought to you by Schneider Golf Mechanics on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Presented by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Half that work week in the rear view mirror. Thanks for hanging out with us as we start to work towards the weekend. It's been a gloomy first half of the week here in the capital city. It's supposed to get a little bit better incrementally as we head towards the weekend. Should be a nice weekend on campus for LSU and Georgia State. I have not mentioned the LSU-Georgia State game really at all over the first 5 hours of the week. We'll do some as we move forward, and I want to start here, and it has very little actually to do with Georgia State because we understand what this game is. We understand what this weekend is in the Southeastern Conference. And a lot of times when these games come up on the schedule, I've been in press conferences for years where a writer will ask the head coach, hey, so when you get up by like 30, I'm obviously paraphrasing here, are you going to put all the freshmen in? Like, that's basically to paraphrase the question. It's asked more tactfully than that generally. They'll say, Coach, obviously you prepare every week to win the football game, but do you consider, getting some younger players some action this weekend? They'll say something like that, and always the coach brushes it off. And I mean, Les didn't even humor the question. Ogeron would try at times, say, we're going to play the best players. We have an opportunity to win. If the situation presents itself, we can get somebody in there. We'll evaluate that or something. Whatever. But this time around, I'm interested in this, and it's really the only thing I'm interested in this game. So Brian Kelly was asked today by Scott Rabelais, the Advocate, on the SEC teleconference, does the Heisman matter to you when you're talking about when to pull Jaden on Saturday?
What we do is try to play the kind of football that has been the hallmark of this offense. And so you want to feel as though that you're playing to that standard. And then you evaluate it from quarter to quarter. So it's really immaterial about the opposition. We'll judge this based upon our standard of play and go from there.
Okay. He left the door open there. He didn't dismiss the question. He basically told it like it is. Yeah, we're going to go out there and try to beat their brains in and score the ball every time we do. And if there's an opportunity to get Jaden out, we will, but we're going to evaluate it quarter by quarter. And here's Hunt Palmer's thoughts on Brian Kelly's thoughts as we enter this game on Saturday. Jaden Daniels needs to put up stats in this game. That needs to be a priority for this team. Opportunities to win the Heisman Trophy late in November don't come around very often. And for Jaden Daniels, it's going to come around one time. They got a game against A&M next week, which LSU would very much like to win. I don't think they'll be playing in an Access Bowl. I think they'll be playing in a Florida Bowl on New Year's Day. You'd probably like to win that too. I don't know if Jaden Daniels has any intention of playing that game at all. That's long after the Heisman Trophy has been awarded. And Jaden Daniels has a draft future to think about as well. And injuries inhibit that. Plus, you've got a backup quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier who you'd like to get some reps to, if maybe the future of your quarterback position. But any rep that Garrett Nussmeier gets in the third quarter of this game is insignificant, in my view, when comparing it to an opportunity to win the Heisman Trophy. And if there's 100 more yards out there and 2 more touchdowns out there, I want Jaden Daniels to have the opportunity to do that. I'm not suggesting LSU show up and be up 56-0 in the fourth quarter and have Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors out there running go routes in an empty stadium. That's not what I'm talking about. But for 3 quarters, run this thing. Jaden, slide, okay? Get those yards. You're faster than all the defenders on that team. If you see a big hit coming, get on the ground. Let's run some quick game. Let's take some quick shots that could result in big plays. Run the offense you've been running. But I'm not interested in Jaden Daniels sitting down like he did at halftime against Army. Statistics are Jaden Daniels' only way to get this done. It is not going to come from team accomplishments. It is not going to come from a Heisman moment against A&M, and you don't even have a chance to go do it against Georgia in the SEC championship game. This is the only avenue. Now, we'll have an eye, as I was talking about in the last hour when we were talking about J.D. Pickell, and I realized that LSU and Georgia State play at the same time as Oregon State and Washington. And maybe Michael Penix has thrown 3 picks and we know about it. But there are some other guys out there you got to worry about. Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo Nix, Jordan Travis, whoever. But I'm always pro get the backup in there, sit guys down, don't get guys hurt against Georgia State. And you know how much I'd like to win the A&M game. But the Heisman's right there. You've got a bad team coming in here that you can roll up stats against. Let 5 do it. Georgia State's getting a check to come over here. I don't care about their feelings very much. Again, it's within reason. Everyone's going to see through it if you're out there and it's 56-10 and you're throwing to Malik Neighbors with 4 minutes to go in the game and 2,000 people in the stands. But if it's 48-20, 48-14, midway through the third, send 5 back out there. Let's go run the offense. Use a little tempo. You want to sit Malik down and put Chris Hilton out there? Fine. You want to get an opportunity for one of the young receivers to go out there and play? All for it. Let Jayden Daniels cook. He's been so good. And it was interesting hearing his teammates talk about him yesterday. Braden Swinson, who obviously comes from the Pac-12, but has been here this year and watched Jayden Daniels do what he has done, talked about his quarterback yesterday.
I ain't never seen nothing like it. With Jaden, Malik, Brian, all those guys, like I never seen something so elite like that. Like Jaden is playing different type of football right now. That's like a different level of football right now. If he's not Heisman, I don't know. Because what I'm seeing, it's insane. I ain't never seen nobody just run all over and just throw all over like that. Like, it's crazy. I love watching them play. I love watching Malik play as well, too. He's exciting to play.
Braden Swinson's quarterback last year was Bo Nix. He had a pretty good year. Real good year. And Braden Swinson saying, I've never seen anything like that. And you look, I may not have in Baton Rouge either. Joe did it differently. I don't compare them as the same, one and the same. They're very different. Joe operated the offense and distributed the ball at a level that I'd never seen before and piled up stats and won games like I'd never seen before. And Jayden Daniels makes electrifying plays with his feet as well as throwing the deep ball. It just doesn't look the same, but it is something to watch. Jordan Jefferson playing defense for this LSU team. He talked about his quarterback in practice.
Jaden makes his reads, goes to his progression. If it's not there, or he sees, like, we leave a void open in the rush lane, something like that, he hits it. You know, he takes off, and, like, you know you're not catching him. So it's good practice for him and for us for his pursuit to the ball and rush lane, you know, stuff like that.
I have taken note of this over the last, well, really all year, because we saw Jaden run a lot last year. But there's something comforting about me sitting there pulling for LSU and snapping the ball to Jayden Daniels and seeing a linebacker or a defensive lineman try to make a play, and then Jaden starts running, and I immediately realize that guy has no chance to catch him. Not going to happen. What a defeated situation to be a defender and to get through the block of Will Campbell or Miles Frazier, to get by Emory Jones. And that's the first part. That's a hard part to break free and to get into the open field. And then Five's back there, and you're sorry, you weigh 260, you got no shot. Sorry, you weigh 245, you got no shot. Some of the corners and safeties don't have a shot. But those linebackers and D linemen, it's just not a fair fight back there. Like just Jordan Jefferson saying, like, you know you're not going to catch him. It's like, why even line up on this play? First, I got to go through this 300-pound, 320-pound behemoth lineman. And then after I do that, I got to chase down a deer. That's fun. It's just been amazing to watch all year long, the progression of Jayden Daniels. And again, I will allude to this probably tomorrow and certainly on Friday and then my pregame show on Saturday. Leave him out there and roll up stats. If it's got to be 475 yards and 5 touchdowns, it's got to be 475 yards and 5 touchdowns. You need to keep a statistical advantage against some of those guys who have big stages. Michael Penix has a big stage this week and a big stage coming up in 2 weeks. Marvin Harrison's stage in 2 weeks is massive. Bo Nix's stage in 2 weeks is massive. Jaden Daniels has an opportunity here to just roll up some stats on the side stage. You got a Jazz Fest, and you got the big Acura stage in the front, and you got somebody over in a tent, the gospel tent over there. Jaden's in the gospel tent the last couple of days. People still notice it, and it's very good. It's excellent. But there's just not as many people watching as there are on the Acura stage. That's what he's up against. Hopefully, it's enough, and I think we'll all be paying attention inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust invites you to bling in the holidays. Register today at 1045ESPN.com to win a $10,000 custom piece of jewelry handcrafted by Stuart Selassie himself. Bling in the holidays with Citizens Bank and Trust. Selassie Jewelry and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. You know, I've been thinking about what I'm supposed to get my wife for Christmas. I'd really like to win a $10,000 piece of jewelry. My gut tells me I'm probably not eligible to win, which is a mega bummer, but I think that would go over pretty well if that's the gift I got her. So we'll see what we can do, but you're probably in a better, you the listener, probably in a better spot than me to win that. Go register at 1045ESPN.com. Let's take a timeout. Come back with more. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Fun Zone. So join us and save $200. SoakItUp.com.
For high-quality office equipment like copiers and printers, Scott Bailey Enterprises has been outperforming the industry in Baton Rouge since 1969. What's more, they've got inventory in stock and ready to deliver now. Brian, what's that number?
753-COPY, or visit us on the web at svecopy.com.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
121-12674. Offices in Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
For a Thursday edition of Off the Bench, as Chef Michael Johnson joins the show for a new edition of Munchies, we talk college football with Caroline Fenton, and a new edition of Big Deal or No Big Deal. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Congratulations to Kevin Helt Sr. and Everett Feckerty. Kevin and Everett are Week 11 winners in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. They win Twin Peaks gift cards. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 12 by noon tomorrow. That's Thursday. Play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. By now, you're well aware of the season that Malik Neighbors has had to this point, and you're aware what's on the precipice here. Josh Reed finished his career with 3,001 yards receiving, and Malik Neighbors is knocking on the door of that. He needs just north of 280 yards to pass that, and you figure at least 2 games to get that done. And it's amazing when you look at the receivers that have rolled through here, what Malik has done in these 3 years. And so he met with the media yesterday, and Malik talked about whether or not he knew where Josh Reed's record may be sitting and if that was something that was attainable for him.
I started hearing about, the Josh Reed after probably a couple months ago, they said I was catching up to him. I never really knew all the accolades or all the numbers that he had, but there was a lot of people that was, telling me that I was moving up closely on him.
And Malik Neighbors in his career is already well surpassed Jamar Chase, 700 yards. Now you realize that Jamar didn't play a lot as a freshman and sat out his 3rd year. So the comparison isn't exact, but hey, Malik Neighbors has played for 3 years. Jamar missed a couple. Justin Jefferson did play for a long time at LSU. He had 3 really good years at LSU, and Malik Neighbors is already 300 yards past him. Now, Jets 7 more touchdowns career, but you start looking like Jarvis and Odell, not even a comp. Jarvis Landry had just about 1,900 yards, just 7 yards short of 1,900 yards. Malik's at 27-18. He's 800 yards past Jarvis Landry. Jarvis didn't play a lot as a freshman. That was mainly a Ruben Randall Odell team, but as a sophomore to junior with Mettenberger, he was out there a ton and was making a lot of plays. And Malik is basically 800 yards past him and 7 touchdowns past him. He's 400 yards past Odell, who did play a lot as a freshman, and he's already got 5 more touchdowns than Odell Beckham. He's put some really, really strong LSU players that played with really good quarterbacks to shame. And Malik talked yesterday about, where did this progression, where did your improvement come from?
I would say more explosive. My run after the catch has improved. My sophomore year, I got way faster. This year, I said I was going to be more explosive, and I think I accomplished that. Just me leading, my other receivers out there. Me and BT always being, those 2 men that lead that group to, a successful Saturday. So,
and I think that's the other part of this is playing with Brian Thomas, that Malik hasn't been as much attention on him because of the year that Brian Thomas has had. It's the same thing with Jarvis and Odell. It's the same thing with Jets and Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall. Same thing that Josh Reed had at the end there with Michael Clayton, and then Michael Clayton had with Devery Henderson. Having that other guy is always really, really important, and it's put Malik Neighbors in an unbelievable spot here where he could theoretically take home the school's third Biletnikoff Award. We know that Jamar Chase won one, and we know that Josh Reed won one, and that would be an amazing accomplishment. And Malik talked about that being a goal for him.
Especially, after seeing Jamar win that, his last season here, it was always a receiver goal when I came to LSU to also win the Biletnikoff.
And he's got a real opportunity. You know at this point that in terms of yards receiving, Malik Neighbors is the nation's leader. He's at 1,284 yards. For comparison's sake, he's got about 220 more yards than Marvin Harrison Jr. at this point. You look at Romeo Dunze in Washington's had a phenomenal year. You're looking at Malik being 184 yards north of him. Trey Franklin in Oregon has been fantastic. You're looking at about 190 yards more for Malik Neighbors at this point. So he leads the way in receiving yards. In terms of touchdowns, Brian Thomas has the nation's lead at 13. Marvin Harrison Jr. is right there at 12. Behind him, Malik's at 10. So Malik could use a 2-touchdown night against Georgia State for sure to help him move forward in that. Those national awards can be deceiving. I think we all kind of are on board with the fact that Grant Delpit should have won the Thorpe as a sophomore and kind of got his Career Achievement Award as a junior. That happens sometimes. And I think Marvin Harrison's had such a great career to this point that there may be a feeling that he's the best receiver. He's going to be the first one picked in the draft. Give him the award. And well, Marvin Harrison would be an exceptional recipient of the award, and especially if he goes out there and throws up 170 and 3 touchdowns against Michigan and they win the game. Okay, that's the stage that Malik and Jaden are working against. But if we're just going to work off statistics and effectiveness, I think it would be very much fair to give Malik this award. We got 2 weeks to see, and there's really nothing that would suggest that Malik's going to slow down here. But I'm pulling for it. Look, this is a year for LSU where it feels like you may have let an opportunity get away with such an elite offense. And at the very least, I'd like to get out of it 9-3, beat Texas A&M, get a Heisman Trophy to this team's name and a Biletnikoff Award winner. Because if those two things happen, this year gets remembered for that. And if the Heisman winner is Michael Penix or Bo Nix and Marvin Harrison's a Biletnikoff Award winner, you'll talk about the really good year. Oh, yeah, that was a great year that Jaden had that one year. But it just won't feel the same. And that's subjective, I guess. But it just feels like watching the brilliance that we've watched. There deserves to be some hardware down the street at the Football Ops Center for the level of play that these two guys have produced. And really 3 with Brian Thomas. So that's where a lot of my focus is. I'm not the individual award guy. I'm the guy who doesn't care about no-hitters for the Cubs or LSU baseball because I want to save pitchers' arms and do what's best to win a championship. I'm not somebody that's always locked in to Disney or wherever they do the award show every single year trying to get those individual honors. And that's what you've got to cling to if you're Purdue or Wisconsin or Arizona State. That's the pinnacle of it. You're probably good as you're going to do is 9-3, and if you got a player that wins an award, wow, what an accomplishment that would be. At LSU, the goal is championships. That's the most important thing, and that's why I say, sit your players in the second half against Grambling. Sit your players in the second half against Army. Schedule weaker, like I led the show with. But this team's not going to win a championship. But these goals are attainable, and it's not like you have to go way out of your way to get them done. You just have to play. So while I'd rather be talking about the college football playoff rankings at this point in the show and rather be breaking down a game that LSU's not playing in but may matter for LSU getting the 1 seed or getting into the college football playoff, that's what I'd rather do in the middle of November. That's a futile exercise at this point. We got the Heisman, we got the Biletnikoff, maybe the Joe Moore, the Maxwell and the Davey O'Brien and all those that Jaden will be up for as well. But those are the two that I'd like to win. I'd like to win the Heisman for Jaden and the Biletnikoff for Malik Neighbors. And right now, they've got every opportunity to do it, but they're going to have to ball out the last 2 weeks. That starts Saturday against Georgia State. Snyder Golf Mechanics brings you our shows on our Wednesdays. If you're looking for an opportunity to practice, sometimes you go to a driving range here or there, and you're not real sure if there's going to be dirt on the ground or good manicured grass or shaggy grass. Maybe the wind's blowing. What kind of golf balls do they have? Can you really tell how you're hitting the golf ball because there are so many variables at play? You can eliminate those variables at Golf Mechanics. Snyder's Golf Mechanics has 2 state-of-the-art golf simulators that can allow you to go in there and work on your game and know what's going right and what's going wrong. One, the simulator is going to tell you. It's going to show you where that ball's going to go, going to show you the slice or the hook that you may have. It's going to show you the ball speed and how far it carried, all that stuff. And you've got cameras that can show you what you're doing right and wrong. And Matt Schneider, a certified golf teacher, can help you with your swing, whether you're a +1 handicap who shoots in the high 60s at times, or you're the beginner who doesn't really know where to start. Schneider's Golf Mechanics can help you with that. It's on Bluebonnet, just north of I-10. Such a great facility here for some indoor golf. It's been raining the last 3 days. You can't go play golf. Could if you were going to Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Just reserve one of those simulators. Hit balls for an hour. It's only $35 to go in there for an hour. Bring 3 friends. Y'all are all paying about $12 to go hit balls for an hour. Schneider Golf Mechanics, a new partner here, the Hunt Palmer Show, and one that I really, really have enjoyed my time over there with Matt Schneider and the company. So go check them out. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there, and see what you can learn. You can also play over there at Schneider Golf Mechanic. I'm going over there early next week to play Cypress Point on those simulators. Pebble Beach on there as well, and Georgia Golf Club, which they play the Masters at every year, but couldn't use the name. Schneider's Golf Mechanics, bringing you our Wednesday shows. We'll come back with our SEC football power rankings on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Been telling you about Marucci Sports. What a success story here in Louisiana, but it's more than just the success that growing business has had. It's what that success has allowed them to do for our state. In terms of tourism, Marucci World Series, bringing thousands of people in every summer to watch baseball, coach baseball, play baseball at the youth level. And they're bringing in elite talent from all over the country to work in Louisiana, creating jobs here in Louisiana with their baseball performance lab. Such a great story, such a great champion of Louisiana. And LWCC loves highlighting champions of Louisiana. If you know one, a nonprofit, a business, a person that's doing awesome things, philanthropic things in our state, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a new champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there in the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of.
Haniger joins for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Julie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Paul Nolan will give us an opinion on Thursday night's game, plus Matt Humans and Dwayne Colucci. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I alluded to this in hour number one, but I've had some shakeups in the SEC Power Rankings this week. Last week, only 2 teams moved from the previous week. We basically kept it locked in. This week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams were on the move. I made some executive decisions, of course. There's nobody there to check me because these are my power rankings. But I've made taken a couple of hardline stances here on a couple of teams, and we've had some shakeups. So let's get into it. Georgia's still number 1. Georgia's setting on some real history here. Spurrier's consecutive SEC games, consecutive regular season games won, a 3-peat's on the table. Like, they are bucking history at this point. And it has been something to watch. Sometimes they dust people like they did Ole Miss last week. Sometimes they're in a dogfight late in the third quarter. They find a way to get it done every single time. Even last year against Ohio State in the semi. Just impressive. Georgia's number 1. Bama still number 2. They seem to have found themselves a little bit offensively. They're letting Jalen Milroe run a little bit more. They're not giving up as many sacks. Their defense is good. You could tell when they played LSU that they made it as tough on LSU as anybody had all year. So Bama at number 2. Those 2 did not move. There is a change at 3. Missouri is the 3rd best team in this league right now. I'm just so impressed with what Eli Drinkwitz has done with this group. They're good on both sides of the ball. Like, they're blowing some SEC teams out. They beat Kentucky by 17. They beat South Carolina by 22. They beat Tennessee by 29. They went to Athens and played tough. Like, they're good. Their 2 losses are to LSU in a shootout at home and in Athens to the best team in the country in a game that was competitive in the second half. And I moved them up 2 spots, and I moved Ole Miss back 1, obviously, after that game. Because, I mean, they have the same record, but, look, Ole Miss is winning all these games close. They're playing a lot of teams close. A&M close. Arkansas close. LSU close. Missouri's laying the hammer on some teams. Ole Miss hadn't been doing that. So I'll move Missouri up to 3, and that all moves LSU back a spot to number 5. I know it was a great win against Florida. You did take control of that game in the second half. You did win it by multiple scores, but it's still a bad defense. If you're going to put LSU's defense up against Missouri, Ole Miss, Bama, or Georgia, it's really not a contest. Now, the offense is better than all those too, and we understand that entire situation, but it's a bad defense. You're one of the worst defenses in the SEC, and I just can't hold you firm much longer there. So I backed LSU up behind Missouri, and I have them behind Ole Miss as well. So give me LSU at 5. A&M is up to 6 after firing their coach. The Jimbo effect. They fire and move up a spot, I guess. They're 6-4, 4-3. This is tough to communicate and take seriously, but if you really analyze it, it is true. They're 2nd in the SEC in total defense. They're 4th in the SEC in scoring offense. In terms of playing at the line of scrimmage on defense, they lead the SEC in tackles for loss and sacks. They've got 3 SEC losses all by a score. Now, they lose all the time. They lost to Miami. They lost to Ole Miss. They lost to Alabama. They lose to Tennessee. And it's a zero-sum. You have to win. But they're not that bad. They're just not good. So that lands you up a spot to number 6. I know that Tennessee beat Texas A&M. I still have Tennessee at number 7. You got beat by 13 at Florida in a game where you scored 16 points. You got beat by 14 at Bama in a game where you only scored 20. You got beat by 29 at Mizzou in a game you only scored 7. They're middle of the road in the SEC in scoring offense. They are 7th in the SEC in scoring offense to this point. So that's supposed to be the hallmark of the program. It's not this year. I moved Kentucky up a spot. Look, they're 6-4, 3-4 in the league. They've lost 4 of their last. They lost 4 of 5 to the quote unquote good teams in their schedule. They lost to Missouri, lost to Georgia, lost to Tennessee, lost to Alabama. They finished with at South Carolina and then Louisville at home. So maybe a chance to save some face there late, but it's just a very, very mediocre football team. Speaking of mediocre, we saw them on Saturday night. Florida backs up a spot after the loss to LSU. Their defense in the last 4 games against South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, and LSU has allowed 39, 43, 39, 52. That is 43 points per game Georgia has allowed to those 4 teams. That's really bad for the Florida Gators, and I've got them down a spot to number 9. Auburn hasn't moved because Auburn is at the top of the list of teams that haven't really accomplished anything. They have the best coach, and it's year 1, so I just left them there. They're 6-4, 3-4, and basically Auburn's season's over. They're done. Mission accomplished. You were 4-0 against a bad non-conference led by at Cal. And you beat Mississippi State, they're terrible. You beat Vanderbilt, they're terrible. You beat Arkansas, they're terrible. All terrible. And you lost to the good teams. A&M, Georgia, LSU. Well, we'll see about LSU, Ole Miss, and then you're going to lose to Bama. So they'll win their non-conference game this week, New Mexico State, and then they'll lose to Alabama, and that'll be the end of their season. They'll be 7-5, 3-5 in league play. That's fine. Hugh Freeze's first year, hold and serve, move on into the future on the Plains. I moved South Carolina up a spot. I didn't want to because I think they've been terrible all year, but they got right against Jacksonville State and against Vanderbilt. They won games after a long losing streak. Now the question for Shane Beamer is, can you save face and finish strong like you did last year? Last year, you hammered Tennessee and beat Clemson, and everybody felt good about South Carolina entering the offseason. There's nothing to feel good about right now at 4-6 overall and 2-5 in league play. But if you can beat Kentucky in Columbia and then beat Clemson in Columbia, you would save face at 6-6 with 2 wins down the stretch. If not, and you miss a bowl game at 5-7, that just looks bad. So we'll see what South Carolina can do. I got them at 11. Arkansas is at 12. They're 3-7, 1-6 in league play. I know Mississippi State went up there and beat them, but I'm putting Mississippi State behind them. This Arkansas team lost 48-10 to Auburn. It feels like running out the string on Sam Pittman. Can Sam Pittman save face by beating FIU and finding somehow, some way to beat Missouri in Fayetteville? The answer is no. He cannot. They will not beat Missouri in Fayetteville. They will lose that game, which they lose most of the time. And I think Sam Pittman's days in Fayetteville will be done. I fully still believe Gus Malzahn is headed up to the promised land in Fayetteville. That's where he started it all off, running the Wild Hog. So that's Arkansas at 12. Mississippi State's at 13. They're another 1-6 team. It's 4-6 overall. I think this hire of Zach Arnett has set the program back 3 years. Leach won 7 games, his second to last year. They went 8-4 last year. Of course, 7-4 before he tragically passed away. But trying to throw Zach Arnett in there and change the offense up and not run the air raid and then the defense collapse. Now all of a sudden you're going to lose a recruiting class and you're going to have Oklahoma and Texas coming in and you're going to have a first-year head coach next year trying to do all these gymnastics again. And it's probably not going to go well. And Kiffin's still cooking. And it's just, it's a real tough time in Starkville right now. I've got them at 13, but it's not worse than what's going on in Nashville. I never even write a note for Vanderbilt. What do you want me to say? They went out to UNLV and lost? They're not competitive in any of the games they play. Who cares? Vanderbilt's 14th. So, SEC Power Rankings, one more time. Georgia at 1, Bama at 2. I've got Missouri at 3, Ole Miss at 4, LSU at 5, A&M at 6, and then Tennessee at 7, Kentucky at 8, Florida at 9, Auburn holding steady at 10. Number 11 is South Carolina. In the bottom 3, Arkansas at 12, Mississippi State at 13, and Vanderbilt at 14. We'll put a graphic up on Instagram. Just voice your displeasure however you may see fit, but these are the correct rankings. That's really all there is to say about that, right? Let's come back and close out a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. Locked in a good interest rate and just don't feel like moving, but thinking about making some improvements to your home. Make one call to David Duvall at One Bath and Closets. Been redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets for 30 years. Ask about a tub to shower conversion. It's quick, it's affordable, changes the aesthetic and the functionality of your bathroom. Maybe you want a full-scale bathroom renovation, remodel. They can do that. They're licensed contractors. They handle everything. Maybe you got to focus on modern design. They can do that for you. Maybe you've got to focus on safety, non-stick floors and handrails in places that may be dangerous. Walk-in tubs. They can do all of that at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation. Let David and his team come in and show you what they can do for you. Financing options are available. Help you pay for these things. Can totally change your living situation at home. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba.
This Sunday, as we bring you 3 different NFL games, we start with the noon kickoff, the Chargers at Packers. Immediately following that, it's Buccaneers at 49ers, and then the night game, the Vikings and Broncos. Catch all 3 of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Fun show today on this Wednesday, brought to you by Schneider Golf Mechanics, Blue Bonnet, just north of I-10 here in Baton Rouge. Excited to get over there next week and play some golf in those world-class simulators. They're a lot of fun to play around with. You can do so many things on them, whether it's practice your game, play games against friends, play famous courses on the simulator. Lots of really fun things you can do over there at Schneider's Golf Mechanics, and they're a new sponsor here to the Hunt Palmer Show. We hope you all will get on by, visit them, visit Matt Schneider. If you're looking for golf lessons, Matt can do that for you. And tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there because we like that. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. MLB Competition Committee is proposing to lower the pitch clock with runners on base from 20 to 18 seconds. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. What are we doing? What are we doing? The pitch clock worked fine. It cut time off the games. How many seconds are we looking to cut off? First of all, you got to tell me how many 20-second violations we had this year. And if it's 30 over the course of how many games?
In 2 seconds?
Then you're saving you're saving a minute. This doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to lower something from 40 seconds to 20 seconds, and this is happening routinely, then I'm all for it. And you take you take that and you put it in practice and you shorten the game. 2 seconds per pitch, when I don't believe there's a lot of instances of this happening, seems like just a waste of everyone's time.
Yeah.
If the pitcher needs to shake off or check the runner again, let's let him do that. It's not egregious. That doesn't make any sense. There's sometimes very smart people come and bring an argument that I'm like, is anyone using any common sense here? There clearly is none. I'm mortified by this. That's probably too strong a word.
All right,
I'm
next.
Perplexed by it.
Next one here. Warren Buffett's holding company Berkshire Hathaway just invested heavily in the Atlanta Braves holding company.
Yeah?
The Braves are going to sign some big-time free agents. Take it or leave it.
Well, they got enough money to, so I'll take it because they don't pay any of their stars. Acuna is underpaid by at least $150 million. Albies is underpaid by $100 million. It's a joke what their GM got away with. It's good on him. That's his job. But, these agents for Acuna and Albies are just clowns. So I hope that they don't sign any of the guys that I would want the Cubs to be on. But Warren Buffett's got a lot of cash, so we'll see.
Well, speaking of big-time free agents, there are betting odds for which team will sign Shohei Ohtani.
Woo!
And second on the list at plus 350 are the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Ohtani to the Cubbies. Take it or leave it.
You take it.
I'll take
it. I got
it.
a feeling Shohei might hit a few home runs into that Wrigley summer breeze that blows dead out to center field off onto Lake Michigan. I think that the Cubs have a good thing going for them and that Yu Darvish really liked it there. They got a good thing going for them that Ohtani's price tag probably dropped by $80 million when he had Tommy John surgery. And it feels like the Cubs are in spend mode and win mode. So, man, if the Cubs get Ohtani.
Got Suzuki on the squad.
Got Say on the squad as well. So, yeah, I think we're in good shape there. Let's make it happen. Come on, Ricketts. Come on, Jed. Let's do it.
All right, next one here. Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green struck again last night, literally and figuratively, when he put T-Wolves center Rudy Gobert in a headlock. Green will be suspended for at least 10 games. Take it or leave it.
I got to take it. I mean, if you want to talk trash and get technicals all the time, Draymond, because that's what the Warriors allegedly need to get fired up, like, that's one thing. You can be obnoxious and do things that I think are very detrimental to your team with physical play and saying things and doing things. You can't take Rudy Gobert and put him in a headlock for like 20 seconds in a scrum. Like, that's not – you can't have it. There's just no way. And Draymond is like a repeat offender in this ticky-tack into overly physical world, and they're, I think, going to make an example. You just can't have guys doing this. Draymond's brain is wired completely differently from mine.
Yeah.
He's fiercely competitive and willing to get on anybody's nerve and under anybody's skin in order to accomplish what he's trying to accomplish. I'm like a people pleaser and a peacemaker and non-confrontational and can't even fathom going to that place that he goes. But putting somebody in a chokehold is absurd, and he's going to get suspended for a lot of games. That's just nuts.
Yeah. All right, last one here. Former president of the Marlins, David Sampson, said in light of Yankees GM Brian Cashman's comments about Giancarlo Stanton that if they don't perform well this season, he is done, quote, "You don't survive that. This is the beginning of the end. Yankees drama. Take it or leave it."
That's quite a punch thrown there by David Sampson. I'll take it, but it's hard to take it because the Yankees refuse to move on from Brian Cashman. Like, they haven't been good in a while.
This seems like a pretty big, criticizing one of your star players like that in the media seems a little bit much, even for Cashman.
It does. It does. And I feel like Cashman probably feels like he's, theoretically, metaphorically bulletproof up there. He's got so many skins on the wall. He's got World Series to his name. They were just in the World Series. What was that, 4 years ago? But, that division is kicking your teeth in. The Orioles are better than you and have a younger, more talented roster than you. The Rays are always better than you. The Red Sox are in a rebuild, and that's good for you. But you were non-competitive late in the year, and I love the quote that one of the guys that I follow for the Yankees said. The Yankees had the second most hits in Major League Baseball, the second least hits in Major League Baseball this year. You've drowned a bunch of money in Stanton and Judge, and you paid Donaldson $20-something million a year, and Cole's been good, but it feels like the end, and I think Yankee fans are ready for that as well. And I don't know if the Steinbrenner family is ready to listen to the fans and do something like that because they have so much loyalty to Cashman. But they need to seriously consider it because things are not good there in Yankee land. That's it for Take It or Leave It. Excited about tomorrow's show. Luke Johnson is not going to be with us tomorrow. He's traveling to a wedding on the bye weekend this weekend, so we'll try to fill in for Luke. Chris Blair going to join us to talk a little bit of football and basketball. We'll get you ready for LSU's game against Dayton tomorrow, which will be 24 hours from right now. They play at 3 o'clock tomorrow, so I'll have a little bit of a thought on that. Best win, worst loss, everything we usually do on Thursdays. And I guess it's time to start talking about the Georgia State Panthers. Think I've got that right? Not great. We'll figure it out before we go on the air tomorrow. But looking forward to tomorrow's show, brought to you by Rouse's Today's Show, presented by our friends at Schneider Golf Mechanics. If you missed the open to the show today, my thoughts on college football playoffs ranking and what message it sends, in my opinion, to the SEC. J.D. Piquel is with us from On3 Sports, talking college football as a What If Wednesday. What if A&M hires Kiffin? What if they hire Coach Prime? I gave my thoughts on that. Victorious Miller is going to announce a little bit later. Doesn't sound like it's going LSU's ways, but my thought on that. Brian Kelly, what he should do with Jaden Daniels on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. When should he play? When should he sit? I have some strong thoughts on that. And then Malik Neighbors knocking on history's door and gave his thoughts on that. We heard some sound from him. Catch it all on demand anywhere you find your podcast, your audio, or, of course, your video over on YouTube. That's going to do it for us here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt's going to drive you home next. See you tomorrow. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement.